Hello, Ben here from the Maths Centre at City College Plymouth. Sorry I can't be there today in person to deliver this presentation, but you will be able to see me virtually in different places on each slide. And don't worry, Katie is here to answer any questions you might have at the end of this presentation. As you can see from the slide, I'm going to be talking to you about our coaching project. Our full research question is on the screen for you to read. To help keep you engaged in this presentation, please keep track of the amount of times I say the word coaching. Not coach, coaches, or coachees. That's twice so far. At the end of this presentation, the fastest correct answer or closest wrong answer will win some Maths Centre goodies. Just to make sure everybody is on the same page, I've now said coaching 3 times. Right, let's get to it. Today's presentation around the coaching project will be broken down into 4 segments. Firstly, I'll explain a bit about how we ended up deciding a coaching project was a way forward for our staff and our students, a bit on the research and design of our action research. Then the meat of the presentation will be around the findings of our action research. And then finally, a little bit of lessons learned and an opportunity for you to ask Katie any questions. If you would like to see any of the resources mentioned throughout this presentation, please let Katie know and we can send them over to you. A copy is in our final report, but we decided not to include them in this presentation. Ready? Let's talk about our coaching project. Previous research from the City College Plymouth team looked at the key CfEM theme of motivating and engaging learners. We felt that there was a clear link between coaching and promoting a growth mindset. We were intrigued by the idea of students identifying their own weaknesses and putting in steps to grow. We saw this as a way that we could support students with reframing their perceived failures into successes. Our FE College is one of the main providers for 16 to 18 learners in Plymouth and the surrounding area. Currently, throughout all key stages, learners in Plymouth are below the national achievement rate in mathematics. The progress from pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds is also well below that of non-disadvantaged pupils. The challenge was to address this issue, which many organisations are attempting in Plymouth, but in a meaningful way for students to ensure that they felt valued and motivated to engage in their maths learning. Our action research team consists of the Maths Centre coordinator and coach, that's me, and members of the maths department at City College Plymouth. This resulted in a wide variety of staff, which gave us a rich blend of skills and expertise who have worked with learners of all ages and abilities, both in formal and informal education settings. One member of the coaching team, Carol, recently completed her MA in Education degree, with a dissertation focusing on strategies to improve mathematical resilience in students returning to study maths. She had also completed the Subject Learning Coach qualification, which contributed to their MA degree. And so she was able to deliver in-house CPD for the coaching team on growth mindset, basic coaching, and motivational interviewing techniques. We also looked at the other action research that has taken place around coaching from other centres, all of which showed positive results. The question was, could we replicate something similar in the Plymouth area? Cue the birth for the coaching action research at City College Plymouth. The challenge was to design a motivating and engaging coaching project that had positive outcomes for students, and we're aware that everybody's approaches will be slightly different, but this is how we went about our coaching project. We wanted to address the students' anxiety around maths. I'll share some of the data around that with you in a couple of slides. As mentioned earlier, we upskilled current members of the maths team to enable them to take a coaching approach to their one-to-ones. We did look at the idea of external coaches, but felt that upskilling staff would prove more cost-effective and give the project some legacy. The Action Research Group created a step-by-step workbook for all 6 sessions, which included useful information about the project, the college team, and signposting to additional resources, such as our YouTube channel, Maths Watch, Maths for All, and College Student Services. These were adapted for the different settings, but in the end, due to COVID restrictions, the coaching project only took place at City College Plymouth. The resources included goal-setting activities, as we felt it was key when trying to instill a growth mindset students needed to be working towards their own personal goal. This was paired with activities that were cognitively stimulating, such as memory exercises and promoting critical thinking. The workbooks also had space for students to complete the maths focus of their session. We also created prompt sheets for functional skills and GCSEs to work through with students so that they could identify areas that they would like to improve. We were keen for the focus to be on voluntary participation from students, rather than them being told they needed to get extra one-to-one support. When students were put forward by their tutors, they were sent the information about the coaching project and were given the opportunity of opting in if they wanted to. The 6 sessions were to be held once a month, but with COVID and a late start to the project, some of these sessions were closer together. So, onto the bit that you're all really interested in. What did we find out? Just a quick signpost to our end of year project report you'll be able to access, which will cover everything in more detail and you can read at your own leisure. First data we collected was from our initial diagnostic. This was where we found out about how students currently felt about maths, and they could opt into the coaching project. We had 127 students complete the initial diagnostic. 122 said that they would like more information on the coaching project or wanted to take part. The pie chart on the left of the screen shows the breakdown of ages of learners who completed the diagnostic. Just over 48% were our mature learners, but it was exciting and reassuring to see a large percentage of 16 to 18-year-olds opting in too. On the right, you'll see students' perceived confidence on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being super confident. I'll give you a minute to look at these figures and glean your own conclusions, and whilst you do that, the bits I found interesting were that students pretty much felt equally confident listening to a teacher as they did to their peers. And this initial diagnostic did confirm a few suspicions. Students don't like surprise exams or being asked to explain maths in class. This probably doesn't come as a surprise to many of you. Of the 122 students who wanted to find out more or take part in the coaching project, we had 59 students complete at least one session. We would have liked this to have been more, and we did have 4 additional partner colleges ready to complete coaching sessions and feed their data into ours, but COVID had other ideas, so we only have the data from City College Plymouth. I'll just give you a little more time to look at those figures on the right hand side, and then we'll move on. I've picked out 4 key points that I would like to share with you. I found this amazing. Across the course of 6 one-to-one coaching sessions, students' perceived confidence in their maths ability increased by 127%. We're aware that confidence doesn't equal a qualification, but by having an increased confidence in maths, they're more likely to be motivated and engaged in their maths learning. This was reflected in the statements collected from students, where key themes came across, such as, maths is getting easier. Graphs are starting to make sense as there was a hole in my knowledge. I enjoy being able to speak with a teacher instead of watching online. I like the opportunity to be able to ask questions. I'm able to work on areas I struggle with. And lastly, the coaching project showed me there is a chance. In terms of impact on staff, key themes that came across were, I noticed that working on a one-to-one level creates that approachable atmosphere where students feel more relaxed and open themselves. I discussed learners' confidence and anxiety issues frequently. I found that learners were quick to self-criticize and did not recognize their own strengths. Lockdown and having sessions online has affected the coaching sessions. Also, being there as a coacher rather than a teacher has positively impacted the lessons and their achievement too. We all felt that the half-hour sessions we wanted weren't long enough, especially when trying to coach online. Learning for future coaching projects is that the sessions should be at least 45 minutes. Thankfully, the staff who were involved in the coaching sessions overwhelmingly felt that it was beneficial if we ran them again. This graph shows the confidence levels of students in their math sessions from session 1 through to session 6. I'm not going to explain it to you, but if you just take a little bit of time, have a look at it, and you can see the correlation between the sessions and the confidence. We thought the coaching sessions were a great success, but in the spirit of adopting a growth mindset, we thought we would ask ourselves what went well, but also what would make the coaching sessions even better. We felt, and the evidence suggests, positive outcomes for students. It's too early to tell if those students who received coaching have passed their assessments. Early indications from students who have taken some functional skills assessments are positive. As mentioned as well, it's positive for staff too, and there's value added with upskilling staff. The model works online as well as face-to-face. We had to make a few tweaks to some of the activities, such as the What's in the Box memory activity. Katie can explain more about that if you would like to know more. So if needed, for future projects, touch wood, all the teething issues are now out of the way. Through necessity of moving online, our data collection process did become smoother, although in future coaching projects, we'll build in time during the sessions to get students' reflections, as when the sessions finished, not all students completed the reflections. We have resources that can be adapted to any setting with ready-to-go activities. As mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, you'll find a copy of these resources in the final report, or we can send you a copy. Just let Katie know. I've already mentioned about making the sessions longer, but we also felt that we need to include an activity in each session where we remind students of their aims, as they didn't always remember what their aim was. That's nearly all from me. Let me leave you with this excellent graphic of action research. Having reflected on this coaching project, we're busy planning our next action research, and we're really excited about it. And before we move on to Yoda and your opportunity to ask Katie as many questions as you like, tot up the amount of times you think I said coaching and put it in the chat box now. Fastest wins a money can't buy prize. And over to Katie. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.